Last week, we tried to solve our newly found battery issues and took you on a hike through a temperate rainforest.
You can see where the copper's gone black.
We decided we were done with the normal life and set out to turn our lives into an adventure. This is our story. The good, the bad, and the crazy. Join us as we sail, explore, and share our mistakes along the way. Welcome to the Wayward life.
Where you going away to?
Well, we're having a bit of a late start to the day today. We had probably 20-25 knots of wind blowing straight into the bay last night, plus gusts that were more than that, so we were both up most of the night trying to make sure that the boat didn't drag. Mostly Logan. And I think it did drag a little bit. It looks like we're a little bit closer into shore, so... But it just dragged a little bit and then hooked up again and was fine for the rest of the night. But we are also having battery problems. It appears that the batteries might be hooped, so we're heading back to Campbell River today so that we can get our battery system figured out. Which is a lot sooner than we'd hoped. We were trying to be out here for like a week and a half, and it's been 3 days. But what do you do? This is what a shakedown cruise is for, right? Figuring out what all the problems are so that you can fix them so you can go places farther. So we're hoping that we can get those new batteries. We've also got to change the charge controller, but we think we have one that should work. So fingers crossed all that goes well, and then we can actually get back out on the water and go exploring again. Because we were very close to Desolation Sound in some really cool areas. Yesterday was awesome though. We got to go for a really sweet hike through the forest, as I'm sure you've seen in the last week's video. And yeah, it was nice to just like sit and kind of chill. Just feel like safe in a bay that's well protected and know that this was a fairly safe place to do our first shakedown and to get to know the boat a bit better. So it feels like slightly disappointing that we have to head back, but it also feels good to know that we did the thing and that we know the boat that much better and we feel that much more comfortable on her. So hopefully we get moving here soon. I'm going to take Max to shore so that he can go to the bathroom, and then we'll get ready to head back to Campbell River. Yeah, we definitely dragged a bit last night. So yesterday when we started, we were like right in front of kind of that larger rock outcropping. We're not now. So that's interesting. But we didn't drag very far, and it was like it dragged for a bit and then it stopped. So I don't know, I guess that's what happens when it gets stormy out. That's the first time I think we've had an issue with an anchor dragging, so still deep enough, we're still safe, so that's the main thing. Right, Max? Come on. While I was on shore, Logan was getting the boat running and having issues with one of the belts on the motor squealing and actually smoking. Okay. Well, as you can hear, the belt is squeaking a little bit, but it's not as bad, and it's not smelling like burning, so that's good. What did you figure the reason was?
For the belt squealing?
Yeah.
Oh, because we have 6 dead batteries.
Not quite dead, but almost dead.
6 batteries that won't hold a charge. So the alternator's working way harder than it needs to.
And that makes the belt squeal because the belt spins too fast?
No, because the alternator's like takes a lot of power to drive an alternator, right? So the belt can only drive so much, and I don't think it's meant to drive 100 amp alternator at maximum output for, you know, an hour.
And that's what it has to do to charge the batteries back up. Okay.
Yeah. We do have a spare belt, So hopefully this one gets us back, and I'll change it when we're back. But also hopefully this charges up enough so that we can raise our anchor.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was worried about too.
We'll just have to take it easy and communicate, and I'll have to come over the anchor. It might be a little bit of a hard pull to get it out of the mud though, because fuck, was it windy last night?
We definitely did drag.
Yeah, we did.
We were way over this way. But
yeah, I'd say the wind direction was perfect for where we were, like for where we were anchored, and there's nothing for us to drag into. But we didn't go very far.
probably because when we anchored, we were facing the other direction.
Yeah.
We did like a 180 from, the wind did a 180 from what it was when we came into the bay, so the anchor would have had to do a 180 too. So that's probably why.
We ended up dragging, from what I had set on the anchor alarm, we were probably about 10 meters. That's what kept me up late last night.
Yeah, understandably. So the clouds have definitely filled in. We're hoping it doesn't turn to like more foggy weather. It was looking like it was turning foggy there for a bit, but I think it was just the rain. So the engine is sounding better, and hopefully it's charged well enough to pull the anchor up. But time will tell. I'm clearly a bit nervous about this whole thing. Yeah, so I mean, there is a manual way to pull the chain up. It just takes a lot of effort. If worst comes to worst, we could probably tow the boat over to the dock over there with the Torpedo, and then hopefully charge it with shore power and then leave tomorrow. But tomorrow the weather's not supposed to be as calm either, so yeah. Everything's more stressful when it's cold out too, and it's not that warm out yet, so just a lot to think about. The windlass was working great under battery until we got to the point of having to pull the anchor out of the mud, and then the battery essentially quit on us. The windlass runs off of the start battery, so it's a good thing we already had the motor running. Also, apologies for my crappy camera angle. Still trying to figure these things out on the new boat. Once we were out of the mud though, the battery had enough juice to pull the chain the rest of the way up. Feeling better?
Yeah, a little bit. We're moving. Stuff is still working. That was really stressful. Our start battery pretty much died raising the anchor. But we know that the emergency windy-uppy thingy, it works. It's just really slow. But that's what got it out of the mud, so. The manual part of the windlass. The manual part of the windlass. It works fantastic. Just very slowly. So something exciting just happened. We saw porpoises. There's two of them. Oh, they're over there too. They're every places. Awesome. And it's particularly exciting because there's kind of this joke that if I'm on board, no wildlife gets seen. And it's not completely true because I've seen killer whales a few times and I've seen porpoises twice before this. Once was our very first sail, actually, we saw porpoises right outside of Vancouver. But it's this running joke that if I'm aboard, we're not going to see any wildlife. And we just saw porpoises. It wasn't a ton. Like, the porpoises will get into pods that are like hundreds and hundreds of whales, but this was like, I don't know, we only saw probably 4 or 5 and they were hunting. But the main thing is, the curse is broken, and it's safe to have me on board again, guys. Remember that. So we're feeling good. We were feeling kind of crappy about having to go back in to change the batteries, but after seeing porpoises, it doesn't seem as bad. So we're continuing on. The wind is picking up a little bit,
the clouds are lifting, which is awesome because of navigation. And I think we're feeling pretty good about it right now. We're disappointed that we have to go back to civilization, but we're also feeling good about seeing whales. So, you know. So yeah, take a look. Also, I'm sure you've noticed by now that the chain locker has a tarp over it. The chain locker is our biggest project on this boat. We have a new cover, but it just hasn't been installed yet, and this one rusted through, so in order to keep more water out of the chain locker and keep the rust from getting even worse, there's a tarp over it and then the old chain locker lid. So the plan was this trip to put on the new chain locker lid, but that's obviously not happening because we're going back to get new batteries. So hopefully next week sometime, or the next week after that, we will have that done. And then in May, the plan is to strip the whole chain locker and redo the whole thing. It's going to be a bit of a project, but chain lockers are always an issue on steel boats because there's so much water and mud and whatever that gets into them that it doesn't seem to matter what products you put on them, there's always an issue. We think with the number of birds and the porpoises hunting that there must have been a ball of herring in the water. As soon as we were out in the strait, things started to get a little bit rolly. How you doing?
Pretty good. Very interesting. We've got the swell coming from one direction, waves coming from another because of the wind. And the swell is kind of converging around this island out here. And it's making things a little interesting.
Well, a little bit.
But Max is handling it like a champ.
So we're just about to roll out some head sail just so that we can try to even out the boat, stabilize it a bit because we're rolling pretty good and we can't face into the waves right now.
Why can't we face the waves?
We're like as close as we can get to this reef on Quadra Island. So we gotta kind of go broadside to the waves, which is less than comfortable. Right now it's really rolly. So we're just gonna roll out the head sail and see if that helps. It definitely did help, as long as we had a little bit of wind to keep the sail filled in. When we lost all the wind, it was another story, and we decided to roll it back in. We didn't really get the sails off this trip, but we had a good speed heading back and arrived without any other problems, ready to look for replacement batteries for our battery bank. And we arrived back to the marina with our very own welcoming crew. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and a special thanks to our patrons for giving us that extra boost.